What's up, everybody? Trey Bodwin here, and welcome to today's first ever TreyFinds podcast. However, you may be listening and watching, whether it's on YouTube or whether you're checking us out on Spotify or Apple Music. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got a lot in store. On this cast, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. All of it from a high level perspective will be about the automotive industry. I will be telling you, if you are consumers, how to purchase a car, the processes that you will go to, the things that you may want to avoid, the things that you may want to take advantage of. And also, I'm a fair guy, so I will be talking about training methods and things that new car salespeople and pre-owned car salespeople have used in the past that have made them really successful. So with all that said, thank you for tuning in to the pilot episode 1. Let's go. The many things that I hear, let me just give you a background here. I've been in the automotive industry since 2014. So by auto standards, that may not be a long time, but through normal human being standards, that is a crap ton. And I will tell you that I've had the pleasure and fortunate ability to learn from some of the greatest. I have done auto sales and consulting between Texas, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Oklahoma, Louisiana, pretty much anything from the central to west side. I've done it. Oklahoma, of course, is one of my favorite spots to go and visit. More on that. But before I get down that rabbit hole, let me tell you this. There's one thing that's consistent. Every dealership is the same, and yet every dealership is a bit different. That goes across the board for their processes, for the people that are in charge, for the numbers of customer satisfaction ratings they may or may not have. So as we're talking through this, I'm going to be addressing some of the main concerns that go on in a dealership starting now. So why do people hate going to dealerships? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is there's this reputation of the greasy car salesman, the person who wears a $15,000 watch, $2,000 ink pen, Ferragamo shoes, although I love Ferragamo. And they choose to do a couple of things. They choose to kind of bullpen or bully the sales process. We're seeing that go away. It still exists, but in most dealerships, it's going away. Why? Because, believe it or not, dealerships are finding out that they don't like customers and consumers do not like to be talked down upon. So now with the online presence of the internet and digital retailing, put an asterisk by that, we'll cover that in a second. Consumers now have the ability to shop online without ever having to go into a dealership, or they can choose to actually purchase in store, or you could do a little bit of both, a hybrid method. So, out of all three, it's really your preference on what you decide. The one thing is common, and that is you will need to interact with some personnel from the dealership, whether it's through online, whether it's in person, over the phone, whatever you decide. I don't see that going away. But let's go back into why people dislike dealerships. As I mentioned, just the presence and the reputation hasn't been the best. I mean, I've heard horror stories dating back to, 15 years ago, not that long ago. This was before I was even in the industry. But a lot of people were taken advantage of badly and made some decisions that they thought were great and ended up being pretty evil and put them in a negative situation. So as this podcast progresses, let me know what you guys like to hear. I can share some of these specific stories, and we'll go from there. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about the top 10 things that you will go through in terms of a process with car buying. All right, here we go. Number 1, the intro. Every car sales person or associate or consultant or whatever creative name we can make up is supposed to do the meet and greet, right? That's foundation. It's elementary. It's the blueprint of setting good rapport. And instantly, how confident a salesperson is or how not confident that person is could dictate the way the rest of the sales process goes. So let's talk about this from a consumer side. When you go into a dealership or you go to a dealership, you'll see a number of people outside. They've been referred to as sharks, although that's not nice. I would say piranhas is a little bit better. But the reason why they're out there is because they're trying to take ups. Ups are you as a consumer. They want to pick you up, not as in a pickup line, but pick you up, bring you into the dealership, sit you down, and discover what you're looking for. And just like any situation, if that salesperson does it right, then the process goes as it should. Now, does it always go into the sit down and discovery, which is step 2? No. Many times you'll run into people as a consumer, you'll run into people that are a little bit more flexible. And as a salesperson, let me tell you, you're going to find customers that will grab that process and they will take it the way they want. Neither one is right or wrong. I'm just stating the facts here. So what does that sit down and wants and needs and discovery step 2 look like? Well, what happens essentially is you'll get a salesperson to sit you down, sheet of paper, customer information sheet is what we used to call it. And you'll have the ability to find out whether a person has a trade, which is step number 3, whether a person is going to be adding to their inventory or whether they're, looking to trade a vehicle, as I just said, and just really get an idea of what they're looking for, right? If there is a trade, then step 4 would be to test drive. You do step 3 first, which is the trade-in. You're going to see a salesperson either walk around the car. We'll talk about the details of that in a second because there is a lot that goes into that trade evaluation or devaluation. Little Easter egg for you that we'll talk about soon. But once that trade takes place, generally that's a very good time for a salesperson to take you as a consumer on a test drive because you're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. After that, on that way back, you're in the car and then you may hear this, if you're a consumer, you may hear this from your salesperson. So, Mr. Customer, do you agree that if we could make the numbers work for you, this is a car you should take home? Some variant of that is probably what you're going to hear. That is a commitment to close. There's these little nuggets along the sales process that you're supposed to have as a salesperson in your arsenal. You want to be able to tell the consumer, hey, I'm willing to make this work. I want this to work. This is how I get paid. So are you wanting to buy the car? And there's the whole head nod as, the person is asking you the question as if we're, stuck in the 80s and, a head nod is going to make you nod your head too. I mean, for some people it works, but that's what happens. And then the next step after that would be after the commitment to close, which is step 5. Step 6 would be what I remember as the 4 square. The 4 square is a piece of paper that they would do monthly payment, down payment, trade, total price of the car. And this is usually where I would get yelled at. I would just get destroyed. So as a consumer, if you see a 4 square, red flag. Nobody wants to see a 4 square anymore. You want to be as transparent as you can. Of course, the method from a dealership is to show you payments and not total price of a car. And there's reasons for that we'll go into later. But step 6 is generally where you get the numbers. They want to build you up, throw the price at you the highest they can go, and then let the negotiations begin, essentially, which is number 7. After you have seen that initial pricing or pencil. A pencil is a definition in the car business used as a 4 square. Once you get that first pencil and as a consumer you object, it's up to that salesperson to take this thing from there, right? Are they going to go back to the sales manager like they always do and get pricing, or are they going to sit down, find out what you're looking for, and proceed as such? These are generally things that people are discouraged by. I help people buy cars all the time at all price points, and nobody wants to go through this portion. That is why I am here for you. And that is also why we're talking about this, so you could be better equipped. So shameless plug to myself here. I will be creating a course here within the next 6 months that will, if not sooner, we'll see, that will essentially make this car buying process easy for you. And if you need additional help or assistance along that way, I will be able to make myself available from there. So with that being said, let's rock into what should be number 8. I'm putting it as 7.5, but I have an affinity to this. A big shout out to the Insignia Group because they really get it. And in fact, I think that the organization is ahead of its time. Accessories, the presentation of accessories, it's beneficial for both the consumer and the dealership. Here's why. When you're purchasing a new car or a pre-owned car, you want to make this thing your own. And how do you do that? Well, you do that by personalizing the vehicle with accessories. Are you an outdoorsman or woman? You want to put roof racks and a bike rack or outdoorsy activities on your car? Well, this is the time to get offered those, because if the dealership does it right, you can actually choose to roll it into your financing if you want. I'll have a separate segment on that. And moving forward from that, I mean, there are some financial benefits of purchasing accessories at the time of sale. One is you get the warranty. So if you're buying an accessory, an OE accessory, which is from the manufacturer, you will get, in most cases, the same amount of warranty that the new car has. So for example, if you're buying a new car, 3-year, 36,000 miles is what you'll generally receive. You will receive that with the accessory as well, as long as you purchase it at the time of sale, at the point of sale. Now, what happens when you do it afterwards? Well, depending on which brand and what type of accessory you're getting, generally it's about 12 months. Sometimes it could be less. Sometimes there's nothing at all, depending on how late you wait. And in the state of Texas, you actually save some money when you purchase accessories at the point of sale, because vehicle sales tax is 6.25%, as opposed to our sales tax, which is 8.25%. So don't thank me, thank the great state of Texas and automobile service process. So we're going to take a quick break, sip some of this water here, and we'll be right back for the closing. Are you looking to sponsor your business or service? Email TreyFindsTx@gmail.com for more information. Okay. So, excuse me if you heard that carbonation going down. Sparkle water. It's really refreshing, but also dangerous to the burp. So, process number 8. Call it number 8, call it number 9. It's really up to you. F&I, finance and insurance. This is where the bulk of my experience comes from, being that I served as a finance manager, then a finance director, and then I worked later on as essentially the lender. I did lending for prime and subprime and mid-prime. So if you have questions about that and how that generally works, hit me up. I'd love to share it. This is something that I do for fun, by the way, because I just love cars. I love the auto industry. And I've seen a lot of good and a lot of bad. So if I'm able to help the masses or even just one person, I think that, the hobby pays for itself. With that being said, if you are looking to sponsor your product or showcase a service that you have, send me an email. Let's talk about it. See if we could advertise a little bit of something, and pay me in the nicest of ways, of course. F&I. This is what F&I stands for: finance and insurance. And what goes on in F&I? Well, a couple of things. This is where you will see your approval if you are paying with finance. There's 3 types of options for paying for cars, by the way. You can either do finance through just a traditional loan, you could do leasing, or you can pay cash, of course. There's a lot of tricks to the trade here. I can see this podcast going on for decades if I talk about finance alone. So I'll keep it tight and I'll just high level here for you. Finance and insurance is the department that handles your paperwork at the end. You'll see all of the lending solutions. And last but not least, you will have the opportunity to decide what products you want to buy. A lot of those products are where you get extended service contracts, which they call VSC, which stands for Vehicle Service Contract, gap insurance. Some dealerships still sell total life and disability. And then there's ancillary products, right? So dent and ding, items like paint protection, all of that good stuff. And you can choose to buy those. I will be releasing more content on what those products do, whether they actually work or they don't, whether those services work or they don't, because you should know. You as the consumer have every right to know. So we'll be talking about that. But that is what the F&I process and department is all about. You'll also get, more importantly, you'll find out what your rate is. And that is completely a different subject. So as soon as you guys check this out, let me know what you want to hear first, and we could dive into these a little bit deeper. Going into the last step on my list here, I have it as 10, but you can call it number 9. It is the delivery, which is the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful to get through this entire process, right? After your 4th hour of being in a dealership, unfortunately, that's the case for a lot of people, but you will have the opportunity to take delivery of your car. Now, if you're buying online, now there's ways for you to get the car unloaded at your house. But for most people who haven't experienced digital retailing just yet, you go in to go pick up your car and it'll be waiting for you. If it's a pre-owned car, you may not get the walk around. This is how you work your car treatment. But for new cars, generally, it's best practice for a dealership to do that. And this is where they talk about the survey, quote unquote. They don't talk about the survey. The reason why I say that is because now manufacturers are asking consumers if they were coached up on the survey. So if you do hear something about the survey and your salesperson was great, show them love, because this is a form of compensation also. So don't take out the bad experience on the salesperson if they didn't have anything to do with it. There you go. Salespeople, I stick up for you too. But that is it for today. We've already surpassed the amount of time that we've dedicated for the first podcast. If you like where we're going with this thing, this is the first episode, let me know. I'm excited to talk more about it. You can email me at TreyFindsTx@gmail.com or visit my website, which is going to have a separate tab strictly for automotive. And that website is TreyFindsTx.com. So reach out to me, show me love. We're on social as well, TreyB, VONTE, or TreyFindsTx on Insta. So check me out. We'll talk soon. Have a great week.